Oh, hi.
Well,
Well, I tell you what we'll do. I'll call this meeting to order. For the Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, West Newbury Planning Board meeting. And I want to take things just a slight bit out of order here by going to Pleasant Street. So I understand that they have requested that we continue this.
Yes.
So how's our next meeting look? Should we continue it to like 7 o'clock?
I will be away at that meeting, but I'm happy to listen to a recording when I come back.
Okay.
You'll most likely be voting at that meeting, though. I would think, possibly.
Yes, probably. But
Hello, I'm here.
hello,
Hi,
Deb. Welcome. We just called
Hi,
it to
Deb.
order. We haven't done anything yet.
Oh, good. Anne,
Except-
thank you for texting me. I'm sorry I forgot. Bye. I'm here.
No worries. What's for our next meeting, Katrina? What time would be good to continue this public hearing until?
So the reason why you don't put it right at 7 o'clock is why?
Well, normally in case,
There's
Deb shows
stuff.
up late or there's
Yeah, there-
other little stuff,
Oh, okay,
but we
So-
could continue it to 7:05.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we continue the public hearing on 29 Pleasant Street to 7:05 at our next meeting, which would be on the
17th.
17th.
agreed.
So I made the motion.
Second,
We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
and Bertie and I.
Deb Hamilton, I.
Very
Rob
much,
Phillips, sorry.
All right, it's unanimous. Now, the other thing I want to take out of business is any administrative details or correspondence. What I'm trying to do here, folks, is cut Katrina loose.
Oh,
I'm trying to hit the things where we probably need Katrina because she's got stuff to do.
I don't have the guests yet, and so can I just let you know?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then, we'll go back to item number 1, which is reorganization of the board. And we have to figure out who's going to do what.
May I make a request that we move that to the end of the meeting as we usually do? We usually do it at the end.
Do we?
That's my recollection. Others?
Well, my recollection is lousy. The older I get, the lousier it becomes.
Brian or Rob, in your ancient memory, you remember how we used to usually?
I mean, I think if we did it earlier, we left it in the hands of the current person, the current chair, just for keeping things tidy. But I suspect it's more at the end of the meeting than not.
All right. So we'll move that to the end then. Continued public hearing, we dealt with that. Our new public hearing was advertised at 7:15 and it's only 7:05. Do we have people here from the West Newbury Historical Commission?
Yes,
Hello, is that?
this is Elisa Grammer.
Good, so it's correctly noted. So hello, Elisa. Why don't we jump in and talk to you?
Okay. Well, first, thanks for letting us talk to you. And oh, I know why my there.
There you go.
Oh, there you
Um,
are.
Hi there.
That works. And we met with the Conservation Commission. We have mapped imperfectly, but nonetheless mapped the stone walls in West Newbury. And the idea from the Historical Commission's perspective is just to encourage people, be aware of the stone walls, and try to get the people who have them to value them. Not any kind of new regulatory scheme or anything. Of course, you all are the scenic roads folks, and one of the questions that both we and the Conservation Commission had, we did meet with them, one of the questions that we had was how do you go about, what criteria do you use when you, the statute or the bylaw says consider among other things, public safety, scenic views, preservation of historic and regional characteristics, and preservation and enhancement of natural and aesthetic qualities of the environment. And we were sort of wondering, have you developed criteria to make that consideration?
I don't know that we have written criteria, and Brian and Rob, you've got a great historical perspective here, but so correct me if I'm wrong, guys, when I feel like I'm speaking for the board here. What we try to do is encourage people to leave the old stone walls alone. Now, when we come to a situation where somebody's punching a driveway through, it's not our tradition to tell them they can't touch the stone wall. But what we try to do is have them save the stones and then use those stones to build in a return at the ends of the walls, which helps keep the walls sturdier and sort of preserve the look. If I got that right, guys?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I would just add that if there are more than they need to do that, then there are generally places in these walls where there are stones missing. So we encourage them anyway to try to rebuild and to reuse on the site.
Now, I will say, we have had occasionally somebody who rebuilds an entirely new stone wall, and I'm not a big fan of that. The last one happened sort of without our input.
On Coffin
Yes, I
Street.
know.
Yes, you know where that is,
Yeah, I didn't like
that
that.
one.
But we didn't tell them to rip it out and put it back the way it was. And you know, it's hard to get poison ivy to grow back once you've
Oh, it's not that hard.
No, it's not.
Well,
so that dismayed me personally, but I don't know how others feel about that.
One thing that
that was a unique. I mean, he had a piece of a wall that it was not across the entire parcel anyway, and he knows he should have come in earlier. Matter of fact, I think it was brought up by the building commissioner as to what he was doing down there. He was amenable, and he put in a different dry laid wall. Whether you like it or not is, it's a matter of one's aesthetic preferences. But I will say that there was only a piece of that property had stone actually still there, for what that's worth.
The other place that
one
comes
thing
to-
that
I'll just say the other thing that comes to mind real quick was I think it's Daily Property at Page School, just a little more towards Newburyport than the entrance to Page School, and I thought there were stone walls there, and some of them, if there were stone walls there, they somehow disappeared, and that dismayed me. I don't know if anybody else remembers that.
I do a little bit. I would just say we have a different building commissioner now. And also, we need to make sure that the select board is aware of this when they give driveway opening, street opening permits. Theoretically, that should all be coming for scenic roads anyway, except maybe not on Main Street.
Right. The 113
So-
bit by Page School is the only road in town that's not scenic.
That may be how that one slipped through.
Maybe. Yeah.
I have two suggestions. So since I came here, we only had one scenic road application before us. And I know what the board looked for is a letter from the highway superintendent or the tree superintendent as to the trees. So we didn't really receive any input about the stone walls. I think the board was kind of looking at the stone walls themselves. But since we do ask for a letter from the highway department, we could ask one from the historical commission, or instead of requesting input from the historical commission, maybe they could give the board some criteria to use when looking at the stone walls for each application.
we do have some criteria, and it's in the materials that I sent, and it's in the minutes. And the criteria that we had was if it's on town or other conservation land, every effort should be made to preserve it. If it's referenced in the Registry of Deeds as a boundary marker, if it's referenced in the Historic Site Survey, and the Historical Commission would be happy to answer some of these questions if asked. And some of the other criteria were distinctive design, and you'll see that at 16 Church Street, part of an intact grouping, and you see that at the Society of St. John's, and potentially valuable habitat, which is something that the Conservation Commission is particularly interested in. And I'd be happy to send you that list if that would be useful. One thing to consider, the Conservation Commission has no jurisdiction technically to make people cut trees at a certain height. But what they do is they encourage people, and they say, we're encouraging you to cut it at a higher height to preserve habitat. And one thing that you all might consider, depending upon the circumstances and what's going on, is okay, you're going to take out space for this driveway. Could you preserve the other stone walls in your property, which I know you have no jurisdiction over, but it would be an encouragement, not a mandate, just to think about.
I, I,
Question, Elise, are stone walls that are not along highways subject to any protection?
There are protections for boundaries, and there is a statutory protection around stone walls. How much those things are enforced, I would not necessarily know. I would not have very high expectations for vigorous enforcement of that.
boy, that's well stated.
Wow.
I would, I like the idea of us having some sort of written policy of the planning board that's available on the website that clearly states for anybody to see where we stand and how it links to the scenic roads bylaw in town. And I wasn't clear on what you're talking about, cutting things at different heights. What are you referring to there again?
The Conservation Commission, if you're cutting trees and vegetation in a buffer zone or elsewhere that they have jurisdiction over, they will encourage people, they will not mandate them, to leave it at a higher level, a tree, for instance, to let birds make nests in it or whatever other habitat occurs. And it's just an example of a committee having a policy. It's not a mandate, it's an encouragement.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm thinking about, is some sort of written policy that we can all agree to, something concise, maybe less than a page, where we kind of state what our philosophy is as the planning board, and then again referring to the scenic roads bylaw as far as where that applies, and then maybe indicating like steps. So if you're looking at removing portions of the stone wall for access, here's what we're hoping you'll do before you come to us, as you're required to do through the scenic roads bylaw. I don't know, guys. What do you think? I mean, just an idea.
Well, I think, yeah, we should, maybe they could draft the list, and then I think it's worthy of further discussion among the board members
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I think it would also be nice if you had suggestions for if someone does have to take a portion of a wall down, because the board can't stop someone from developing their property. How should that wall be finished? I'm sure there's different types of walls and they should be finished in different ways.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That could be part of our policy. And, you know, just off the cuff, I would say that you'd want to use the existing stone to repair walls, as Ann said, or provide a return for the driveway access to stabilize the wall where you've interrupted it, and to maintain the style of the wall as much as possible. Those are, because then different styles of wall, if you're saying maintain the style of the remaining wall, then you're automatically adjusting for that. But yeah, I don't know, Lisa, if you'd be interested in putting together kind of a first draft that then we could kick around and maybe get something.
Yeah, yeah, happy to do that. Like I say, we have some criteria, and we would be happy to sort of do the research to answer some questions if there were any. But I think your ideas and what you already do is right on the mark, you know, rebuilding and protecting. Eventually, they say that they're all going to sort of melt into the ground unless you keep them.
Yeah,
So,
you know, over the years, yeah, they will, you know, the freeze, the thaw, they
Oh, it's
roll. Yeah.
Sort of.
plants. It's the plants mostly that take them down. Believe me, I've got lots.
Yeah, I've been amazed over the years at finding stone walls in, you know, deep forest that you'd swear
Yeah.
was old growth, but it's not, you know,
Right.
that was once cleared land.
Yeah.
So
They
they
were all-
have a remarkable persistence to them.
You know, I rebuilt. I have my back property line is a wall, and when probably 30 years ago, I was feeling much more energetic, and I rearranged everything, and it's held up remarkably well over that time frame, and it's great to look at. I mean, it's just a, you know, dry laid
it's
stone.
part of the fabric of the town is
It is.
the stone walls. So the more we can do to try to make people, and that's sort of the scheme with the old houses as well, is to try to make people feel like they're stewards and appreciated
Good, yes.
for what they do. That's part of it.
Well, very good. I'm glad that you asked to speak with us, and I would suggest that, you know, if you wouldn't mind, like coming
Yeah.
up with a policy that seems ideal from your point of view, writing that up, then we can take it and edit it and have something that we can put up on our website, and it'd be good. I mean, I think we've been doing the whole idea, but to have something written down, I think would be good.
Mhm.
And I
Okay.
do also, excuse me, I do feel like protecting side walls, back walls, interior walls.
Yeah.
We should have an inventory, and I don't know if the inventory that you've done so far, Elise, includes non-frontage walls. Does it?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
Okay.
I will send you a link to
Good.
where you can find that.
That'd be
And
great.
it's a work in progress done with LiDAR, so it's not perfect, but
Yeah.
town has a
Very
lot
good.
of stone walls.
No, and
Great.
let me just say, you know, your work on the inventory and whatnot is really terrific.
That's great.
Very helpful
Well,
for the
thanks.
town.
And I just want to say thank you for all you do on the planning board. It must feel thankless sometimes, but thank you.
Oh, come
So
on.
Thanks, Elisa.
I will sign off. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for saying thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we'll come back to our agenda item number 3. And that's a new public hearing on 0 Middle Street. Applicant Ellen Thurlow for reduced frontage special permit, common driveway special permit, and scenic road permit. Speaking of stone walls. So I'll make a motion that we open this public hearing as I just described it.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of opening the public hearing?
And Bardine, aye.
Ray Cook, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
And I'm recusing myself from serving as a planning board member for this discussion, as I live within 500 feet of the land in question.
Thank you.
So if I choose to speak, it will be as just a public citizen when you allow that. Thank you.
Yes, very good. And I'll make a little announcement when we open it up to the regular folks. And Rob, you good
Yes.
with it?
Yes, aye.
Very good. All right, so the public hearing is open, and I see that we have Attorney Mead here.
Greetings this evening, and it
Greetings.
was appropriate, I guess, a nice segue to have a Stonewall discussion into our meeting. I'm happy to know, thinking ahead, that I think we've complied with all your new policies, that I'm sure will follow your bylaws specifically. So we'll hop right into it. So as the chair indicated, my name is Lisa Mead of Mead, Tellerman Costa, 30 Green Street in Newburyport, on behalf of the applicant, Ellen Thurlow, who's trustee of the Thurlow Irrevocable Trust. And also with me this evening is Sam Colombo from Millennium Engineering, who's the engineer on the property, and my colleague, Ben Roberts, who has assisted in this entire process. As the
Thank you.
chair indicated, we're here for a request for a reduced frontage lots special permit, a common driveway special permit, and approval of a scenic road application. So Ben, you can move on. As you know, the intent is to split the existing property, which has over 400,000 square feet, into 3 lots, two of which will be the reduced frontage lots and one which will comply with the dimensional requirements of the zoning. We will then, after hopefully the board appears to be ready to approve this, we would have an A&R plan to the board for endorsement. The property is located at 0 Middle Street. You can go to the next slide, please, Ben. So as an overview, we were here before, as you know, but we have changed this to be a common driveway special permit request as well. So we've reduced the driveways from 3 to 2. Lots 1 and 2 will share a driveway as indicated on this overview plan, which Sam will go over in much more detail shortly. And then lot 3 will have its own driveway. Before we get to the scenic road special permit, the goal is to use the stones from the stone wall for the 2 new openings to fill in the opening that exists there. So that will be complete. And then also to do returns as is appropriate with whatever stones remain. So next slide, please. So this is located in the B district. It's an undeveloped lot with over 400,000 square feet of area and 402 feet of frontage along Middle Street. Next slide. So there's the existing conditions. What you can see in the middle of this plan are the test pits that were done. The rear of the property includes wetlands. I might add that we did receive Conservation Commission approval before, when we were before the board. And depending on what changes are made, if any, we may have to go back to them for an amended NOI, but I don't know that that will be necessary because really there aren't many things that will impact what was approved previously. Next slide, please. So lot 1 will include 102.47 feet of frontage and have 100,286 square feet of area. Lot 2 will have 200 feet of frontage and 46,953 square feet of area. Lot 1 and 2, of course, will share the common driveway. And lot 3 will have 100 feet of frontage and 88,722 square feet of area. And all of the proposed lots meet those dimensional requirements. Next slide, please. And so with this, I'm just going to turn it over to Sam to walk you through the details of the plans as presented.
Good evening, Sam Colombo speaking with Millennium Engineering. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, Sam.
Yes.
Perfect. So as Lisa already alluded to, lots 1 and 3 are the reduced frontage lots, and lot 2 is a conventional lot. And then if you look to the rear of the property in that crosshatch area, it's approximately 3.7 acres. Again, that Lisa alluded to will be donated back to the town of West Newbury. Next slide, please. here's our proposed grading plan. So again, access to lots 1 and 2 are via 16.5-foot wide paved common driveway. Now from where it intersects Middle Street to where it forks off, it's about 60 feet long. And then where the driveway splits into two separate driveways, it splits down to two 12-foot wide driveways that run to both of the proposed dwellings. And then lot 3 has its own paved 12-foot wide driveway. Now all lots are proposed to be serviced by wells and septic systems. All 3 wells are located up by the front of the lots, closer to Middle Street. And then you can sort of see there's boxes behind the proposed homes, which is where the septic systems will be located. And then lastly, we have incorporated a couple stormwater management practices. The first is stone infiltration trenches that line the edge of each driveway. And really what that'll help do is mitigate runoff from the proposed pavement for each driveway. And then additionally, we're proposing roof dry wells that are connected to each of the proposed roofs with gutter systems and downspouts that'll collect stormwater runoff from the roofs. Next slide, please. This is just a plan that shows the contiguous buildable area. And as you can see, basically the entirety of the proposed lots contain contiguous buildable area. And so we far exceed the area needed for that requirement. Next slide, please. I think we can skip this.
Right.
And I'll turn it back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Sam. So just to go through the criteria for reduced frontage special permit, one is that the frontage must be continuous on a public or approved way. And of course, Middle Street is an accepted public way, certified by the town clerk, which we received in September of last year. Number 2 is the lot shall have at least one area that can accommodate a circle with a diameter as indicated on the table, and lot 1 and 3, as we show on our plans, do accommodate that 200-foot diameter circle. Number 3 is that there are no more than 2 reduced frontage lots shall have abutting frontage, and here no reduced frontage lots have abutting frontage. They're separated by the conventional lot, which is lot 2. Number 4 is that the reduced frontage lots shall not block future extensions or connections of a dead-end street. And none of them do. Stewart Street, which is across the property, is not a dead-end street. And it connects to Middle Street and Middle Street at the other end. So that's not, we meet that criteria. Number 5, a reduced frontage lot created by special permit shall not be further subdivided, reduced in area, or changed. So we agree to that restriction, obviously, if approved, to prevent further subdivision. And then number 6, the application for reduced frontage lots are exempt from site plan review. And of course, there's no response required for that. And number 7, the reduced frontage lot shall not interfere with the use and enjoyment of an abutting lot and shall not adversely affect the neighborhood. Here, lots 1 and 3 won't interfere with the use and enjoyment of the abutting lots. They comply with the dimensional requirements aside from frontage in the Residence B district. Further, one-family dwellings are allowed by right, which is what is being proposed. And they are on appropriately sized lots, which are quite frankly much larger than required. The adjacent land to the west is undeveloped and owned by Essex County Greenbelt, so it won't interfere with that. In fact, the open space in the rear will be contiguous to that property, which we propose to deed over to the town. And the adjacent land to the east has single-family homes on each of those lots that are adjacent. And these single-family homes won't interfere with that either. So we believe that we meet the criteria for a reduced frontage lot. Next, we need the criteria for a common driveway special permit. Here, there must be a reasonable public benefit which would not otherwise be obtained without a common driveway. And for our compliance here, that, and frankly, it's a recommendation that we heard at the very end of our closeout of the last meeting, that we do reduce the number of curb cuts or cuts into Middle Street, and therefore reduce the number of driveways that open up onto Middle Street in this area. And it would lessen the impact on the existing stone wall and preserve the historic landscaping of the property when compared to 3 driveways. So we believe that we meet that criteria. The next is that no more than 3 residential lots shall be served by a common or shared driveway. And here there are 2 which are served by the common driveway, so we meet that criteria. Number 3 is not applicable because these are only single-family lots that are proposed, multifamily lots. Number 4, the length of the driveway shall never be used to satisfy zoning frontage, and it doesn't. It's not used to satisfy the frontage calculation. It opens up onto Middle Street, which is a public way. There's no impediment to the possibility of reasonable or practical access to both lots 1 and 2. The shared area in the front is quite sufficient for that, as Sam noted. And of course, that would require approval for new openings in the stone wall from the planning board if any other openings were requested. Number 5, the location of the common driveway and easement or easement's conditions have to exist, and we've submitted a draft easement for the common driveway that requires shared maintenance, not blocking the driveway and things of that nature. And the board has that proposed easement. Next is that the board shall require covenant restrictions for the proper maintenance of the common driveway. Again, that's included in the easement that we provided, the requirement for maintenance and how those costs are shared. And number 7, the common driveway shall meet the dimensional construction standards of the town of West Newbury minor roadway. The common driveway will be at least 16.5 feet wide, where 15 feet would be required, and will conform to the construction standards outlined in the West Newbury subdivision standards. The general criteria for both of these special permits under section 11.2.6, we believe we also meet, and I will go through those as well. 1 is the specific site is appropriate location for the use or structure. Here, of course, the 1-family use is allowed by right in the district, and so therefore it's appropriate for 1-family use. The next is the use developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Here again, it's a 1-family use, which is allowed by right. Certainly won't adversely affect the neighborhood. It's consistent with the other neighbors around it. All 3 lots will comply with the dimensional standards, but for that reduced frontage. And 1-family dwellings are appropriately sized on appropriately sized lots will not adversely affect the neighborhood. A C is that there won't be any undue nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. Here, actually, with reduced, with the common driveway, we only have 2 curb cuts into Middle Street, reduced from 3, and it certainly won't create any undue nuisance or hazard on Middle Street. And of course, the Holmes building will comply with the building code, and all the utilities will also be in compliance. D is that the proposed use or structures will be in harmony and general purpose of the bylaw. Again, the proposed use is 1-family dwellings. It's in harmony with the purpose of the bylaw, where 1-family dwellings are allowed by right. It encourages the appropriate use of land in the Residence B district, which we're doing. And again, the Residence B district encourages 1-family dwellings. And finally, the requested use will not overload the public water, drainage, or other municipal systems. Here, these 3 additional 1-family dwellings won't overload any municipal systems. They're on well water and septic systems. And of course, there won't be any adverse drainage out onto Middle Street. That will all be designed to stay within the lot themselves. So we believe that we comply with the criteria, the general criteria also, both for the reduced frontage lot as well as the common driveway special permit. And then finally is the scenic road application. So as I indicated earlier on the plan, the applicant proposes to remove 34 feet of stone wall. That's 20 feet for the common driveway at lots 1 and 2 and 14 feet for lots 3. And then they'll use those stones to fill in the area that currently exists as a gap in the wall and or do the returns as they have stones left. No trees 10 inches or more in diameter will be disturbed on the property line. There's no reasonable alternative given the preference for the common driveway. This is the best location. They tried to put, when Sam was working on a design of where to put the driveway, this really was the only place that it worked from a design and safety point of view. And so we're intentionally avoiding disturbing the trees on the property line. And again, as I said, we'll reuse the stones to fill in the existing openings and other parts of the wall as appropriate. Next slide, Ben. And so I just want to show you with the GIS, so you can see obviously the opening that exists today. At the top corner of the slide, we're going to have the new curb, a new driveway, and then down below, just below where those trees are, we're going to have the new common driveway. If you go to the next slide, Ben. And again, here's the opening that's going to be filled in the next slide. And that's the condition of the existing stone wall in some locations. Next slide. And if you can go back one. And obviously some of it's been overgrown, or as somebody said a little while ago, it's dissolving into the earth. So perhaps we'll bring it up a little bit and clean it up, but not make it formal as apparently happened on another property that people weren't happy with. So with that, we believe that we also meet the requirements of the scenic road special permit, and we would request the board's approval and are happy to answer any questions. I would add one more thing. Sam mentioned it, I mentioned it. There's that rear portion of the property that the applicant is agreeable to donate to the town, should the town like to have it.
Very good, thank you. At this point, what I'd like to do is I'd like to open it up to other planning board members to comment and discuss. We have the three things here. We got reduced frontage, we've got common driveway, and we've got scenic roads. Rob, Brian, Ann, any discussion?
Well, I had a question about waiving the requirements for a drainage scheme.
Was that Rob? Because I couldn't.
It was
Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah, thank you. So, as you know, we were unclear about that. Obviously, Sam addressed the drainage that he has designed on site. But of course, stormwater is approved by the Board of Health, right? So, that's the only reason why we asked for a waiver on that. But
Well,
Sam did
Lisa,
address-
I would think that in order to approve the application, there should be some sense of whether this is going to present a problem to abutting properties or not.
So, I can have Sam answer that question relative to where the water's gonna go. But we typically would have that reviewed and approved after. Is that not the case? That was my understanding about the process.
Well, I think it's perfectly reasonable for the board to be concerned about runoff. I know that there's a longstanding tradition in town that all the abutters are concerned about stormwater runoff and any changes that might occur.
Right.
And of course, the law requires that the water maintain
Right.
its situation before and after. I'm glad Rob mentioned it because I had a question for Sam as well. I'm seeing these. Can you see my cursor?
We can.
Yes, good. So we've got these perimeters to the driveway that's going to pick up runoff. And Sam, am I correct that you're going to route that to the same sort of temporary or containment, these dry wells, if you will, that are catching the roof runoff? Is that right, Sam?
No, so the stone trenches that line the driveway will just infiltrate the stormwater into the ground. The dry wells are just hooked up with gutter systems to the roofs themselves.
So so I'm seeing these 3 boxes, 1, 2, 3. Those are your dry wells?
Correct.
And then these are your overflows for the dry wells?
I'm not seeing, yep, that'll be like a
These little
small riprap area.
trapezoids? Yeah,
Correct.
I think they're called out occasionally. You might want to add the traditional typical to these, since there's several of them. Like these aren't called out down here.
Just a little further down, you can see them.
Oh, okay, all right, good. Yeah, mm, I, I mean, I understand the trenches. I do think because we've got the slope there and got the runoff from the pavement, that in a good hard rainstorm, these trenches won't have time to infiltrate. They'll just
Yeah.
overflow.
Ray, on that note, I mean, I'm curious, were these trenches part of the plan we saw previously? And
Yeah,
Yes,
Sam, would,
yes, they were. They've
they
just been
were,
modified for obviously the common driveway.
yeah, okay. Because yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm looking at this and there's at least 4 feet of grade there that we all know where water wants to go. It's downhill. Uh, I'm wondering if, yeah, if Meridian made any comments on those or found no issues. I don't recall.
So I'm happy to go back and pull those out. We had addressed all of the issues that Meridian had in the peer
Yeah,
review.
I just don't remember
Yeah.
if it was noted or not.
Um, and so I'm happy to go back and look at that. And we're also happy to go back to Mr. Savigny and have him give his input on it anyway, because he's going to be the one to review it. So, I mean, we're fine with both of those things because they were reviewed before. So, however you want to handle that, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'll let
so,
you, Ray, you can decide on that.
well, no, I mean, I mean, if we could just confirm that Meridian's fine with it, and
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Anne?
Yeah, well, this is falling under the new stormwater bylaw, right? That's what Attorney Mead's referring to with Paul Savigny. So
Yeah.
that's all going to be reviewed there, presumably. That's correct. We have to file over there. Exactly, yeah.
Gotcha.
I guess that was our point, right? So,
Yes.
because you have this two-step process now.
Yes.
And we have to have them review it. Yes, and we're relatively new to the stormwater bylaw. We haven't had too many projects come through that are of a scale that needed to use it. So we're all learning.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I have 2 things if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think we need Meridian to review the whole thing again because they saw.
Yeah, no, well, let me rephrase it. If Paul Savigny's fine with it under the new stormwater laws that are applicable here, then, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I was just going to question about the common driveway area and whether that should just be reviewed by Meridian as kind of our due diligence because that was not part of the original review.
So I guess I would ask the question, if Paul reviews it and says it's okay, do you then still have to have Meridian review it? I mean,
Well,
we
is
spent the
that
money originally, right? So I'm just,
The question may go actually to, you know, as you know, when you talk to someone, there'll be the thing that they do, and then assurances that that would cover what concerns we might have. I mean, we don't know that we have any concerns. I was hoping that we would just maybe review what Meridian did weigh in on, perhaps then check with Paul to see what things he might recommend we also do some due diligence on, if any. And he may say, no, I got it covered. But like Ann said, this is the thing that you don't want to have fall between the cracks. That's my only point of view.
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree with all
Yep.
of, excuse me, but the last time we filed, we went to file with Paul and they said, go to file with you guys first. So I'm happy to go to Paul and say, can you review this simultaneously and give us a report? I mean, I guess my question to you would be, let's do it kind of like I would do something that had a conservation and zoning board approval at the same time, right? So if we go to Paul, you review it right now and you say, we're generally okay with this layout. If you say that, then we'll file with Paul and have him review it so he can give a report back to you that says, yes, it works. No, it doesn't work. No, you need to tweak this. No, you need to have that trench be another foot wider, whatever it is. But I don't want to have him review this and then come back to you and you say, well, nope, those driveways need to go completely on the other side of the lot, right? So I'm trying to get an idea. If you are generally okay with this layout, then we'll go ahead and have Paul take a look at it, because he's going to be then reviewing something that you're okay with, is what that's all.
Yeah, I understand that, and only speaking for myself as just one of the planning board members, I'm fine with that. Again, I'm sort of,
Ray, if I could,
please.
I'm also fine with it as long as we understand that one of the things that might happen is there might be a need for additional review, either because of what Paul says or what he defers back to us on, us not knowing,
Right.
whether he covers everything we would be concerned with or not. So I think we're all saying the same thing. It's just we're not quite clear on what, what is it going to be like a direct line from here to there, or is it going to be a little jog back and then we continue on, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I
I'm
think I
fine
get it.
with the layout as proposed. I think the thing that I'm confused with, and Counselor, bear with me, is with a complete stormwater review by Paul, where does that leave the board's responsibility that we've always sought an opinion from Meridian? And that may be an internal discussion that we need to have.
Right, that's the question that's on the
With
table
Paul.
right now, Brian.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
won't know the answer until we hear back from
I
Paul.
I don't know, and I don't want to spend your money frivolously here.
but if I may, Katrina, you're muted, but Katrina, do you have any knowledge? Can Paul go directly to Meridian for questions he has as part of his review?
So I guess that's what I was trying to say before, and I was like, geez, I keep getting drowned out, and I didn't realize I was muted. So I seem to recall that Paul relied on the planning board to use their consultant to review stormwater, and was it for Eagle Nest Landing? And so I don't think he has the ability to hire his own peer review
That's
consultant.
what I'm confused.
He relies on the planning board to do that.
Wasn't that before the stormwater bylaw passed?
But I know he relied on us to have Meridian review a project. I forget which project it was.
No,
Well, we always did before we had the bylaw, right?
yeah,
So-
and it's fine. I mean, Meridian's already had a good look at this. My question is, can Paul go straight to Meridian? Can we give Paul permission to ask Meridian things directly in the interest of expediency and directness to have any questions he might have on stormwater?
So I don't know if the 53G accounts apply to boards of health. Attorney Mead, do you know off the top of your
Yes,
head?
it does.
Okay, so, and I don't know if they have adopted a policy on using 53G accounts. Those two things, or they would have to adopt a policy to do that. But if they don't, they could actually rely on the planning board to collect the fee for them, review it for specific things, until we figure out a better way to do things.
So
Yeah,
can-
my interest here is that if, you know, to cut out the middleman, meaning us, if Paul needs to review and approve the stormwater plan, seems logical that he can just, you know, ask questions directly of Meridian. They have their discussion. We're always copied in so we can see what's happening there, and then things get answered.
I think that I have the I actually just texted my client. So here's what we would be willing to do, because I believe that Meridian basically reviewed this already, but for that common driveway thing,
Right.
right? Is that we give this to Paul, we have him review it, we authorize you, him, to seek input from Meridian if he needs it, and we'll cover it in the 53G account, right? So I'm not particularly worried about that at all. So I think to your point, Mr. Chair, in order for expediency on this, we're fine with that, particularly since Meridian has a familiarity with this. And we went to file it with Paul before, and then of course we withdrew. So
Very good.
Right.
Rob and Brian,
Yeah, I've
Yes.
heard a couple other related. Oh, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is everybody fine with this?
I
Yes,
think,
I am. I have a comment. If Paul we should make sure Paul has Meridian's original report, because there's a
Right.
ton of overlap. I mean, he's going to be relying greatly on chunks of that. That hasn't changed, right?
yeah, we'll absolutely make sure he has that. Obviously, it's in your files, but we
And
have
Rob,
to.
I think we're all in agreement here. It's just
Good.
we're all have these little what ifs, this, that, and the other thing, but essentially overall, there's consensus here. We just
Yeah.
got to put it in motion, and then there will be some stuff we'll all have to react to.
well, yeah, but I didn't want to make any assumptions, Rob. That's why I was asking for your
Yep.
input. Since we were all in agreement here, I think that we are essentially with this consensus, and not by, I don't think we need to take a formal vote. That we're all in agreement about how to move forward. And I'm just gonna come to our town planner here, Katrina, and does everything seem fine to you to proceed this way?
It does. I just wanted to remind you that I am leaving early tomorrow morning. I won't be back until the day before the next meeting. So if you want anything to happen, it's going to have to happen without me.
Yes,
So just
understood.
keep that in mind.
Yep.
Also, I did want to bring up the donation of land. I did bring that up with our town manager, and I believe the select board is going to be discussing a policy or just talking about in general accepting donations of land. Now, tonight I did hear that it was abutting Essex County Greenbelt, which is good. But I just wanted you to know that the select board is going to be talking about that at one of their upcoming meetings about
Right.
whether or not they should be or shouldn't be accepting donations of land. And if they do, what criteria would they be looking at?
Well, I see that Wendy Reed is here, and Wendy, I don't mind if you were to weigh in here. I mean, this is definitely the select board's purview, right? As far as accepting land like this?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, and then the other question that I would have, I mean, the proposal here is to donate it to the town of West Newbury. We have had situations in the past where there have been other recipients talked about, like Greenbelt and whatnot. Um, I assume, Wendy, that the select board is interested in this as being to the town of West Newbury, not to some other entity?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so this is something you guys are going to discuss, and then you can
Yep.
let us know.
Yep. I believe it'll be on our June 12th agenda.
I think the
Okay.
reason why I did bring it to Angus's attention is that in other towns, they refrain from accepting donations of land if there's no potential real use for it, because they would rather receive taxes for it.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. And then, there's also an option here, I assume, Attorney Mead, of just, putting some sort of conservation restriction on the land or something like that if if the select board decides they don't want to accept it.
Yes, so to my to the select person's point, this is up to it's up to town meeting, frankly, and the select board to accept donations of land. And so the way I've had similar situations in other communities is that you say that you would offer it to them and do what's necessary, like we would do an A&R plan and do what's necessary to make it happen. But if they didn't want it, it wouldn't prevent, occupancy permits or things like that from being issued because we don't have any control over whether town meeting or the select board want to accept it. And then I would say to you, in this instance, if the select board didn't want it, we would be happy to offer it to Greenbelt, right? I don't know whether they would want it or not, but we would be happy to make that offer. And if not, then, we could just restrict it in some way. I don't know that we want to go through at that point. If the town doesn't want it and Greenbelt doesn't want it, I don't know that my client wants to go through the process of putting a conservation restriction on it either, because then we have to find somebody to hold the restriction. I've got to get it approved through the state, and then I have to have conservation as the selectmen and town meeting approve that too, right? So
Yeah.
that, I don't know that I would say that, except for that we could mark it as unbuildable area and restrict it that way, generally speaking. So I guess I would go through that kind of pyramid of review, but we're happy to, I guess the point is we're happy to talk about any of those things.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, perhaps the plan could be modified in its language a little bit here to say potential open space donations to the town of West Newbury, comma, Greenbelt, comma, or potentially a conservation restriction. Just right here, it seems like a fait accompli, and it's not.
Yeah, so we could say, potential open space donation or conservation restriction.
There you
Right.
go.
Without naming,
There you
maybe
go.
some other environmental group wants it.
That's good. Planning board members, just overall on the three things that we're looking at here, any comments, any discussion?
But I have a couple other questions,
Please, Brian, go right ahead.
not related to that, but um, Katrina, it may have been in the packet. Did the fire department approve the common driveway? Did they have any comment?
No comments from me regarding the Zero Middle Street application. That was from Chief Mike Dwyer.
Okay, so that's, I presume that's fine.
Unlike other common driveways we've seen, it's, this is relatively short in length.
Yeah, just formality, yep. And
Yep.
the other, on the stone walls, and maybe the Millennium Engineer, are those in the town right of way?
I believe they're on the property line.
Yeah, see there, you can see the right of way and then you can see the stone wall.
I see.
Yeah, of course, no stone wall is so perfect that we would expect it to be this straight or this perfectly on the
Yeah.
right of way, but in general, I would assume it's along the right of way.
Well, and the reason I'm after just meeting with Alyssa Grammer, Counselor, would your client be amenable to a finding by the board that there should be no modifications to said walls in the future, unless an application is made to the town, the proper town entity, something of
Yeah.
that effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think I kind of alluded to that when I went through your criteria anyway. So yes.
I
Yeah.
just want to be sure you'd be
Yeah.
open to something that, again, just after hearing her
Yeah.
comments and that, yeah, I know a lot of it's buried, but again, a lot of people have driven by there. They're used to seeing this and whatnot. I think it would be enhancement. And yet I also know that property owners sometimes do silly things.
Mm.
No, Mr. Murphy, never.
Never, never happens.
Right.
So yes, we would be amenable to, I can ask, but I don't think that she would have any, objection to that. We've already went over that issue anyway, so yes.
Yeah, and,
Yes.
and any future modification, like, let's say 5 years after this whole thing is done, they're still subject to the scenic roads
Right.
bylaw.
Well,
But
they're
something
subject
to
to the
remind
CDR
them, and,
and the special permit, Mr. Chair, both.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
but just, so, but maybe some annotation, something to remind future owners that the stone wall is special here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anne, did you have
I'm
something?
just gonna say that could be, the kind of thing that lends itself to a condition in the decision as well.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's where
mutually agreed
I was
upon
going.
condition. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, if planning board members don't have anything, I'd like to open this up to the public to see if we have any comments from the public about this plan. And you can just unmute yourself. There's a way in Zoom to raise your hand, which pops you up to the front of the list so I don't miss you so easily. I see that, or you can just unmute yourself, as I see that Deb Hamilton did.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Deb.
okay. I don't see my hand raising option.
That's all right.
I just have a couple of observations and thoughts about this beautiful piece of land, which we all admire, and with a remarkable view shed that I still feel that 2 great lots here is a better option than the 3 lots, but that's for you all to vote and decide. I am pleased to see the offer to protect the headwaters of Kelly Brook in the back. That stream does flow into the Artichoke, and that's both the Newburyport and West Newbury water supply. And it's quite pristine. The watershed pretty much starts at the corner of Middle and Bachelor Street and flows all the way out to Indian Hill Street. Thank you for bringing up that map, Ray. That's very helpful. And there are no houses close to the stream. It's a pretty pristine body of water. And I'm pleased to see that the lots now end in the field, 200 feet from the annotated wetland boundary. But I do, you know, I would like to make sure that that land is protected one way or another. Secondly, before he left, Clay, the conservation agent, and I had a conversation about this land, and he pointed out that the greenbelt parcel that the cursor is over right now is all wet and is subject to the Mass Endangered Species Act as protected land. I asked him what was being protected there. He said it was turtles, and that lot 1 would be affected because of its proximity to the wetlands there, and that these lots will need to be inspected from time to time to see about the possibility of turtle habitat there. I don't know that anyone has raised this as an issue before, but I did hear about it from the conservation agent, and it seems like something that ought to be tucked in here somewhere. Finally, to me, the scenic bylaw is somewhat abrogated by having the 3 lots there, particularly the fact that the middle lot, the house is very close to the street, or comparatively close to the street. My impression in the past, when we have allowed reduced frontage lots, it's been a matter of feet, not a matter of dividing conforming frontage to add an additional lot. Every house on Middle Street along this stretch has the requisite 200 feet of frontage. I do see that the 2 houses on lots 1 and 3 are well below the street. It looks like the street is at about elevation 136 and the houses are about a lot elevation 120. So it may be that we will still have views over those houses. I can't tell. It depends on how big the houses are there. I have to think that these are the nicest lots that have been in for sale in West Newbury since the Graff properties over on Middle Street, probably the nicest lots that we'll ever have to sell in town. And so it wouldn't surprise me if the houses that are going to be built here are going to be 3,000, 4,000 square feet. And although Attorney Mead has mentioned a couple of times that these are anticipated to be single family homes, I will remind you that any house in town can be a 2-family. So there's really no limitation as to the size of the houses here. And finally, in our conversations about stone walls, I just point out that the east boundary of Lot 3 is a stone wall all the way along there too. So as mentioned in our earlier conversation with Elise, I would like to see that protection, that stone walls be recognized, whether or not they're on the frontage. They should be part of the town's inventory of historic attributes. Oh, and finally, access to that open space would be something that would be highly desirable. The Thurlows own the next piece south, below where it says open space. Oh, Ray, can you put that map back up?
Let me jump to the My Map.
Okay.
That's what I was doing.
Okay. Thank you. So parcel 1597, I believe, yes, that one there. Could you click on that? So you see how that goes out to Middle Street, to Bachelor Street. The common driveway that serves 2 houses sort of hugs the lot line there, but that parcel there, I'm not sure whether John and Rick own that parcel 8070. Who does it say here?
It says co-owner is Thurlow. The owner is Ruthier.
And
Okay.
yeah.
What are we talking about?
So I'm just pointing out that historically, the trail that has gone through the middle of this property and then out to Bachelor Street that has been used by the myopia hunt for many years. And I don't know how many people who aren't, are aware that it's there. A lot of the neighbors viewed this whole lot as a neighborhood asset. We loved it when it was covered with lilacs. It's been a cornfield, it's been a hayfield, it's been left fallow, but it was also a great sledding hill, cross-country skiing, and it's a great trail to canter a horse up. I'm going to miss that trail. But I will also point out that there is a 22-acre greenbelt piece at the right-hand edge of the next one. Click to the top right corner there, Ray. Keep going. Yeah, that piece. This piece is owned by Greenbelt. And in addition, if you click to the right again, Ray, the next one, 16 or 96. Yes, that is also Greenbelt. And so and they're back when my husband was alive, the trails through there were maintained. And it's a short hop to get from the piece that they're looking to protect and to get over to there. It would involve me. I'm 90, 2 lots over. No, keep now left, one more. That's me. So, all we have to do is get the trail from, what's being proposed is the piece that's gonna be donated onto there, and then all of that is now interlocking and connecting, parcels.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
You're welcome.
I don't want to short other people a chance to weigh in. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to talk about this? Reminder that we've
yes.
got 3 issues before us. We've got a reduced frontage lot. We've got a common driveway special permit, and then we are concerned about the scenic roads.
Yeah, I turned. Hello, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Good. This is Alexandra Gorelnik.
Hello, Alexandra, thank you.
Hello. And I own the property directly across the street, across Middle Street. And I said this before, and I just want to repeat it, that I cannot find another place where there is an old house like mine is, which is 5 feet from the town right of way, that is faced directly by a house that has the proper 40-foot setback. I'm assuming that the new house in lot number 2 is about a 40-foot setback. So it puts me just directly face on to that other house, and I just don't see that anywhere else. So that's my only concern.
Thank you. I'm going back to the plans here.
Let's see what the setback is. It may be more, maybe Attorney Mead or Sam can tell us.
The setback is well more than 40 feet.
I mean, if
on
they're
there is,
business-
there's a zoning table. Sam, do you happen to
Yeah,
know what that?
It's on the cover sheet, I believe. But the house on lot 2 sits back just over 100 feet from Middle Street.
Okay.
You know what's helpful here, Sam? What's the diameter of this circle around the well?
100, the diameter is 200 feet.
Diameter is 200 feet, radius is 100
About
feet.
100.
100.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you kind of squint your eyes there, I'd put it at 90, not 100, but yeah.
Yeah.
Close, yeah.
Well,
All right. Well, that's definitely better than 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I assume that we can put some sort of condition in the special permit that would make sure that this 90 feet is not encroached upon. Is that possible, do you think, Attorney Mead?
Well, I think I'd like to, before I outright agree to that, I think that we probably could, depending on what that rear setback is. And the answer from a legal perspective, not that I'm giving you legal advice, since it's subject to the common driveway special permit, you would be able to put certain conditions on it related to that, of course.
Yeah,
Or
not trying for anything special, just sort of preserving
Right.
this
that
so
front
that
yard, right?
nobody is being misled in the public hearing
Yeah,
with
I don't,
bait
yeah,
and
I don't,
switch.
yeah, no, for sure. I don't, it's the special permit plan, so we'd have to build to the plan. So, I don't think that that's an issue, Mr. Chair, at all, but I just want to confirm that, but I don't think it's an issue. I think it's about the location, if not further back than we had the house before.
Thank you. And other planning board members on the concern of, forgive me here if I butcher your name.
Just
Geralnik?
Alexandra is fine.
I'm trying to be formal, Ms. Geralnik.
Gorelnik, yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. Other planning board members, anything with respect to this? Rob, your screen?
nope, I
Okay.
was getting rid of a fly.
Yeah, I hope you did. Anne?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I have a comment. I think this going from 3 driveways to 2 is an improvement. And I think the driveway locations, the driveway for lot 3 is offset from the street. That seems desirable. The other common driveway is offset from driveways across the street, as far as I could tell. It doesn't show on this drawing, but I think that's the case.
Yeah.
And it gives a greater distance between the two. So openings, people turning on and off of Middle Street will be kind of staggered along there, which I think seems relatively desirable.
Yeah, I think we can see, as a point of reference, you can see the shadow of this tree here, which is now being preserved.
It's to the
And
west of
the
that, right?
common driveway would be about here.
Yes.
And then the single driveway would be right up here against the property line.
Okay,
So
so
those two are shifted away from the view of Ms. Grolnick.
in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. I understand your concerns. And yeah, it's a lovely open field.
It sure is.
Yeah. Anybody else? Ms. Grolnick, I didn't mean to cut you short. Was there anything more that you'd like to say?
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public want to comment on this? I see an Eric Olson turned his camera on, but he's muted. I don't know if he wishes to participate.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I'm across the field from the Goralnicks and look at their beautiful house every night, including right now. And I'm just wondering about a couple things. One is if these houses go in and then later they decide to put in like an alternative dwelling unit, are there restrictions on that front part of the property? Do they have the right to build adjacent or in that area that's so close to them across the street? And then also, is there any height restriction that might be implied, especially if it's going to be a two-family dwelling?
Okay, two things. Well, first though, Mr. Olson, I believe it's required by public hearing law that you identify your address.
My apologies, we're at 186 Bachelor.
186 Bachelor. So you're down around here, maybe.
So we're across from the Thurlow property that you were just referring to a minute ago.
Gotcha. Thank you. And of course, there are building code restrictions as to height. And I think what you meant to ask a question about would be the accessory dwelling unit that could be built, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, any ADU would have to go through our building commissioner. Brian, Rob, Ann, Katrina.
Sorry, I was trying to speak again and I was muted. I believe if they change the site plan at all, they would have to come back before the board for some kind of modification. If it was an ADU that was built within the dwelling, they could do that. But as soon as they manipulate either the driveway or the building envelope, they would have to come back for some kind of modification.
And Attorney Mead mentioned that these would be special permit approvals, and therefore the plans would be have to be protected that way. That might have an effect.
Right. So I do want to, there was a comment made by Ms. Hamilton earlier, and I want to address that related to this also. So you're right, in West Newbury in this district, I could do, if I had a lot by right, I could do a two-family by right. But we're subject to a special permit. And I think in our very first hearing last fall, the planner suggested that, in fact, one of the good things about the reduced frontage lots is they become special permit lots. And so you can control what happens on them later. So we couldn't actually do two families on these lots if we're subject to a reduced frontage special permit and now common driveway special permit as well. So they would be, anything would be subject, the site plan changes would be subject to a modification or a new application before this board.
Thank you very much. And would that be implicit, or would we want to put a condition on there? A condition of granting the special permit is that these are single family dwellings.
Well, you could do it either way. You can do the condition because it doesn't matter because it is anyway. So it is what it is.
And does that go to ADUs in some fashion as well?
So the ADU, it would be subject, the same thing would be subject to it. If we weren't subject to, this is interesting, right? If we did two by right lots here, not only could we do two families, now we could also add an ADU to each lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's
Right.
a little question about whether or not you could add
Right.
two ADUs when you've got a a duplex. I'm not sure that's been
Right.
fully resolved yet. That was a
Well,
question.
right, a lot of us are arguing with the Attorney General about that right now, when I'm sitting on your side of the table. So, but I would say for sure, you would be able to do 2 ADUs on each lot if it was a two-family. So you would actually be able to have 6 dwellings.
So
this
my
property.
question is the opposite of what you're discussing right now. What I'm wondering is are we going to be able to restrict anything other than the 3 dwellings we're looking at right now as a condition of the special permit?
Yes, I mean, yes, because the answer is, I presume you, well, I don't know, you may not have this condition, but most of the permits that I write say any changes to this plan must come back to the board for a modification.
And the modification is then again under what type of
Public hearing
venue? What
process.
public hearing process
Right.
with the ability to say no as just because we don't like it?
Correct. Well,
Correct.
no, sir, Mr. Phillips, not just because you don't like it. Of course, that would be arbitrary and capricious.
No, but I
because
want
it
to
was
be
didn't
as
meet
close to arbitrary and
standards.
capricious as I
Correct.
can get. Right.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, you say this, but I'm looking at the plans here, and I assume you are too, because I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything that says single family dwelling, although the dwelling is singular here.
Well, and they've got the septic systems,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that.
Septic systems are based on, probably
Yes.
4-bedroom,
All
right?
I'm saying is being explicit and calling it out in a condition might be
Yes.
of some use to
Yeah.
avoid ambiguity in the future.
100%. That's where we're going. Yep.
I don't think there's an issue with that.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, then, yeah, I find it actually, just speaking for myself, persuasive that the abutters' interests are actually probably better protected by granting the special permits than just by having 2 lots that don't require the special.
Well said.
I think the planner indicated that at our very first meeting, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but the planner sometimes needs to tell me 3 or 4 times before it sinks through my thick skull. I'm slow on the uptake here. And same thing when it comes to legal opinions. I often have to be told multiple times before I realize that
All right.
perhaps it's true. Good. Well, I think, Mr. Olson, I'm not sure, did we address your concerns?
Thank you. I think so. I missed the first part of this meeting, and I know you're talking about Paul quite a bit. I was wondering if the perkability of the land somehow restricts the amount of space or size of the house or anything like that, or is that?
It will.
Yes.
That'll be up to the Board of Health, but it's very likely. And once they build the septic system, then the number of bedrooms in each dwelling would be restricted by the Board of Health. And they've done their perks. They've designated septic field locations that will work. So I think that there's a practical restriction there. Whether or not these could be modified in the future, I don't know. But if we put conditions that these are single family residences, then I think we're all good there.
I have one further question, Ray.
Go ahead, Ms. Hamilton.
I don't see a proposed reserve septic area for lots 1 and 3.
Well, I think that's what this oh, I see what you're saying for lots 1 and 3. And maybe, was it Rob?
Sam.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
Sam.
if you're looking at lot 1, just above the proposed septic location,
There
it's
it
not
is.
labeled,
there
but
it
there's one
Thank you.
there.
Yeah.
And then on lot 3, it's a little tough to see, but where the 114 contour label is, that's the top corner.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's
Oh,
under
there it
Oh.
is.
reading. Yeah.
Under all that grading.
Yes.
Correct.
Is that grading gonna hold up? Does that require retaining walls, or is that a slope that's gonna be mowable?
So it's a 3-to-1 slope, which
Okay.
is typical.
Okay,
And it's mowable. Should the the homeowner ever need to use the reserve, there would be additional grading and potentially a retaining wall needed there. But that's down the line.
yep, thank you.
I was just checking what the slope was in gradient 1 to 3, 33%. Pretty steep, but yeah, 1 to 3 is. There's a lot of mowers you wouldn't want to.
Go sideways.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you don't go sideways.
yeah. You have to go straight up and down those slopes. Okay, so we've heard, I think, from the public at this point. Planning board members, help me out here. I think we want to, and Katrina, we want to keep this public hearing open. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna have the back and forth potentially with the Board of Health, I mean, with the stormwater bylaws, so, yeah.
Right.
Very good.
And so I believe
Um,
the next step would be for the applicant to, I think, apply for the stormwater permit.
Right, we can, thank you, Katrina, we can do that. So I would say that we would ask for a month, and that way, hopefully, if there's any issues back and forth, it would be done. And it would give Paul enough time to confer with Meridian if necessary, and we could give us time to file something back with you before your meeting in a month, which is on what date?
We only meet once in July, on July 15th.
Well, how perfect is that?
Well, it's more than a month away.
Right,
But-
but-
Well, right, but it's either 2 weeks or a month, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think Paul would have an opportunity to have it turned around and go back and forth with Meridian.
And perhaps us.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So, I'll make the motion that we continue this public hearing to 7:15 PM on the planning board meeting of 15 July 2025.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? And Attorney Mead, I welcome you to, we're all good with this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of continuing the public hearing until July 15th at 7:15 PM. Ray Cook, aye.
Radine, aye.
Ryan
Rob
Murphy, aye.
Phillips, aye.
It's unanimous with one person
Not voting.
recused.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help, Butters, and thank you, Sam and Lisa. And there was another person on your team, and I forget, was it Ben?
Ben, yep, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, for being here for this.
All right, thank you. You all have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Right then. Thank you, everybody. Let's see, item number 4 was the discussion with this historical commission. We did that. Which brings up agenda item number 5, which is the MBTA Communities Law zoning discussion. And just to remind everybody, the select board has established a MBTA working group, and at our last meeting, we voted to support that effort. And as the people on the working group should have a representative from the planning board, and we need to discuss that. I think that although I've invested a lot of time getting up to speed on it, I think it's I shouldn't be that person. Although I'm certainly interested, and I'd be interested to hear from Wendy if we've been getting good feedback from the community on potential sites. But yeah, do you care to weigh in on that?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yeah, we got, I have, probably 20.
Oh, wow.
People responded with some really thoughtful, suggestions.
Good.
So, yeah, I'm pleased. So I'm compiling that now and it'll be shared with the working group for our meeting this Thursday.
Good. And I think it's only fair to mention before we designate somebody, do you envision meeting on Thursday nights, weekly, or?
We're this Thursday at 7.
Yes.
And then we'll decide as a group what dates. I mean, we're on a tight time schedule.
Yes, we are.
So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
we'll decide as a group though what works for everybody.
Okay. And yeah, the deadline is so tight that our meetings suddenly seem to be rather sparse as a planning board to provide input, but we'll want to do that as much as we can to help the working group work through the proposed sites. I think inadvertently, I've sort of pulled myself out of the running here. So that brings Ann, Deb, Brian, and Rob as potential working group members. Does anybody?
I want to not volunteer. I have a number of things going on between June 7th and July 20th. I'm going to be away for 11, 8, and 5 days. So I'm not going to be around much.
I
to
hope
the
you'll be
meeting
away doing
schedule.
something
They're
extraordinary.
all good things, but I won't be around to meet that tight meeting schedule, unfortunately.
All right, so that brings us to Deb, Brian, and Rob. Brian?
I'd like to suggest that someone considers this, and that person would be Rob Phillips. I'd like to see him consider this. I think his input would be valuable, a fresh set of eyes, and good knowledge of the town, and someone
And
with
he did
I
mention
would
it
say
4 weeks ago.
a bit of wisdom for sure, since we worked together many years ago on the planning board. But I don't know what his schedule is like, but I think that would be an interesting suggestion.
I will say he does have the whitest beard amongst us.
I support that choice. I do intend to attend Thursday night's meeting, but I'm happy to do it just as a citizen and not as the planning board representative.
Gee, no pressure, Rob.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, I'd love to do it.
Great.
Easy.
Excellent. So
Well,
I make a
that
motion.
wasn't so hard, was it?
Oh,
I'll make the motion that Rob Phillips be our representative to the MBTA working group.
second.
Any further discussion? Rob, your last chance, buddy. No?
Oh, he wants to do it.
Good.
I know.
I would like to.
Maybe he was just caught up in the moment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no?
Talk me down from this, Ray, please.
I don't want to talk you down from it.
No, I know.
Be great.
All right. Well then, all those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
And Bardine, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Deb Hamilton, I.
Okay, thank you very much.
Congratulations, Rob.
Wait, Rob, you got to vote here.
Well, okay, I'll say aye because all you said aye. Thank you.
There you go. So it's unanimous. And Wendy, I assume that there's no objections to our nomination.
It's really not up to me.
I know it's not, but
Well, she can object all she
Let's
wants.
hear it.
Yeah, right. Well, that was damning with faint praise, huh?
Not up to you.
Well, I think that's great. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you.
Wendy, before I let you go, since we're on the topic, it's on our agendas. Is there anything you'd like to, other than saying we've gotten some good input from the towns, anything else you want to make the board aware of at this point?
No, I'm literally in the process of compiling it right now, all the information. So
Good. So
yeah,
things are
I've been
going
working
fine.
with with Ian Burns from MVPC is helping to review so the intent on Thursday is to screen out everything we've received to only ones that are on surface eligible, and then decide from there how to move forward.
Good.
Great.
Very good. Thank you. I'm optimistic.
Good.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to discuss how we might proceed with amendments to section 5.2 of the zoning bylaw for reduced frontage lots. This came, as sort of because of our discussion in the past. Katrina, do you have something here? Is that what I'm seeing bounce up?
Yes, I do. So I think it was Brian who first brought up the possibility of taking a look at section 5.2, which is our reduced frontage bylaw, to revisit it to see if maybe there were some improvements that could be made. I don't know, Brian, if you wanted to add anything to that. I guess what I'm looking for is I created a timeline of action if we were going to present something at a fall town meeting. Or you could decide we're too busy, we don't want to do it, but I didn't want to let it just drop without
Right.
getting your input on it. And so tonight on the timeline, I wanted the board to discuss what they feel the problems were with the reduced frontage bylaw. And then I've already actually compiled examples from other communities that on June 17th, I was going to be ready to present you with a package so you could review and see how other towns deal with the reduced frontage bylaw.
Good.
That's
Are
a
you
good
here
idea.
on June 17th?
Yeah, I think,
I am. I won't have a staff report for you because I'll be away all next week, but I'll be at the meeting.
Okay.
Brian, go ahead.
yeah, I think we obviously know where the idea for this came from, and while there may not be many other locations in town that present the same challenge that the Middle Street application does, uh, you know, it's worthy of a discussion as to whether we should modify the bylaw so that we don't have, they're not quite back to back, but they're awfully close together. These reduced frontage lots, and maybe just restricted to a single lot in no matter what someone is contemplating. I don't know. I'd like the board certainly to weigh in and see what other towns have done. But it strikes me, this is the first one that I recall seeing in my 20 plus years on the board. And it was disturbing in the initial application. I do think, I will say, I think the applicant has taken the right option to reduce the street openings, as has been just presented to us. But I won't say any more because that hearing is still underway.
That's right.
But
Well,
this is something that we may want to bring forward, and depending on where we are with MBTA and what the fall town meeting looks like, it may just move on to the spring if we wish to do anything.
yeah.
But I think it's worthy of a discussion.
Anytime we make a bylaw more clear, less ambiguous, we're providing guidance to future planning boards and also to people who, are interested in doing things in town. I'm all in favor of that. And now I'm really curious. I want to kind of see what Katrina's come across. So how about you can see the schedule that she's got before us. On my screen, I can read that easily. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, good. Okay, so does this sound like a good way to proceed, folks?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I think it's fine. I think we may just discover, as we often do, that once we start thinking about this, there are many more elliptical moves than we realized. And I don't think we're in a panic to wrap this up for fall. I'm not saying we should drag our feet, but if it looks like it's gonna take a little bit more thinking,
Yeah.
that might be okay too. But the only way to get
Yeah.
moving is to get moving. So yeah, let's start.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
have a look at it. And, you know, we may find that with just a couple of sentences, we make things much better, or we may find that, oh my God, like you just said, Ann, let's not rush it. Yeah,
And let's see
good.
how the MBTA thing goes for fall too. We need to kind of be aware.
Katrina, I just want to thank you for, you know, really digging into this and coming up with a schedule. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And truthfully, I also have an ulterior motive.
Oh,
I would love the board to revisit the reason why they have reduced frontage lots. And it usually towns adopted these because they didn't want to see another subdivision going in. And just picture a subdivision at 0 Middle Street compared to these reduced frontage lots. So they are an improvement. I also hope the board is always thinking of ways to create more housing. I know you want to preserve the aesthetics in West Newbury, but we really do need more housing at the same time. And so, for instance, I can see limiting the 0 Middle Street. Well, you know what? I'm going to stop talking about 0 Middle Street right
we
now.
should. We
The
should
public
stop
hearing is
talking about
open.
that specific location.
But in the future, being open to allowing ADUs in special permits granted to reduce frontage lots, because ADUs aren't really very impactful on the town, and it is a way to create different types of housing, and that's what we need is different types of housing rather than the big, 4,000 square foot homes.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and
so I will move forward and I will just have, you know what? I'm not going to be able to send it out to you, but we can talk about it on the 17th, I guess, and I can show you examples.
Can't Jen Geary send it to us as part of the package? She's got to get a package to us.
Yeah, I might be able to get a note to her tonight, but she doesn't have access to it. I'll see what I can do tonight, Brian.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I might be able to just send it out to you tonight.
now, as far as I know, you're not going to be spending every summer marrying off daughters. So
I only have 2.
yeah,
And I'll be marrying both of them.
yeah, I think that's takes priority here.
And listen, we can drift this all to July 15th as well. There's no,
Okay, let's do that.
I know you have the nice schedule here, but we certainly could just drift it to the 15th. No,
you know what?
no
I can
worries.
change that schedule easily.
Just shift it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
But
right, good.
maybe that's a better approach for everybody.
Yeah.
More humane.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I saw some smoke coming up from Katrina's ears there. So.
Yeah. I'm concerned about that. If she spontaneously combusts, we're
we're in trouble there.
Yeah. Item number 7 on the agenda: housing production plan revisions.
I didn't see any.
Well, it says here, if we receive final edits to the housing production plan in time for board members to review them, the board should vote to either edit further or accept the revisions.
Now, the version I saw, I couldn't tell what had been changed.
All right, this is embarrassing, but how do I stop sharing? I don't have a button for it.
Up at the top, up at the very top of the screen, you should see a stop share option.
I do not.
On your shared screen? You don't?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
wait, you know what? I have 2 computers and it's on the other computer.
I'm going to share my screen. And then by doing that, you stop, and then I can stop my share. There we go. Easy workaround. All right, well, let's put the housing production plan revisions on hold then.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was busy looking to stopping the share. The housing production plan the board reviewed it at the last meeting, and we were holding off because we thought there may be some more changes. There were no additional changes. All
Oh,
that was done was that all the changes reviewed were incorporated into it.
okay, so there's nothing
Remember, I
new.
was talking
Thank you.
about the fact that the state wanted us to choose areas in town that we would welcome 40Bs. Well, we've decided not to put that language in there and submit it back to the state and hope for the best. Because we are doing other things to welcome housing
Right.
into West Newbury. And so if the board could just vote on the changes that they reviewed at the last meeting.
Well, I'll make the motion that we accept the changes that we've already reviewed at previous meetings.
Second.
So this is regarding, again, the housing production plan that we've reviewed. No new changes proposed here tonight. Any further discussion?
I just to clarify, that was the only controversial component, was it not?
Yes.
That
right.
that we spoke about, or well,
Mhm.
that I listened to actually about that. Yes.
Yeah.
It really was the only controversial point, and so we've decided not to really include it and submit it to the state.
Thank you.
Ray, could I offer a comment?
Absolutely, Wendy.
So the select board has not reviewed it yet, nor has the Affordable Housing Trust. It's possible there'll be some changes in the list of properties, so just want to make you aware of that if you wanted to hold off on voting, or you may end up seeing it again if we make changes.
Well, okay.
I think it may be best to just vote, and that will be good if there's no changes, and then they can vote again if there are changes.
Okay, fine.
All right. So any other discussion then? If not, all those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
And Bardine, aye.
Deb Hamilton.
Rob, okay.
I got you, Rob. All right.
No, maybe we'll do this alphabetically. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Before we do minutes and whatnot, should we jump back to the reorganization agenda item?
If you want to, whatever.
There you go. Well, since
6 to
I'm
1 at
still
this
chair, since I'm still chair,
You get to decide. Yeah.
I get
There
to
you go.
decide. And so I'm making the executive decision that we should do that. And yeah, I think it's clear, as is our tradition, that I need to step back from being chair at this time. And so normally it would go to Deb Hamilton. I suspect Deb Hamilton wants to say a couple things about that, though.
Yes, I do not wish to be chairman. I am still too new at this. Any of the 3 other board members would be a better choice than I at this point.
What's that quote that, you know, if elected or
If
You will not
nominated, if
I-
nominated, I will accept. If elected, I will serve.
Oh, no, that's not the
It's
quote.
the
I was thinking
opposite.
of.
The
If
opposite.
nominated, I will
opposite of
not
that.
accept. If elected, I will not.
I think,
That's me.
Yeah, I thought,
That's
I'm in the pump there, Rob.
Depends on who you ask.
That's right.
yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Brian.
yeah. I'd like to jump right in. I'd like to nominate Ann Bardine as the chair for next year's planning board.
I would second that wholeheartedly.
Well, we haven't made the motion yet because Ann gets to say things here.
I think let me just add. I think she will bring the right level of expertise and patience and whatnot to the board, and frankly has big shoes to step into that you've done the wonderful job you've done, Ray.
Yes,
Well,
But I think it's the right choice at this point in time for the board.
Well, I would fully support either of you guys. You've been great chairs in the past, and I'm thinking that Rob might be willing to step up as vice chair, so to be in line when a year from now, since we're kind of out of our normal sequence here. But
Yeah, I think it would have been a Tim year if he'd still been here.
Right.
yeah, and Tim would have been good.
So have we heard back from Ann Bardine about this? at all?
Well,
I
I
mean,
was
I
just,
notice you're not speaking to this, Anne.
well, yes, that's right. Well, it used to be an every 5-year thing. Now it appears to be an every 3-year thing. So,
Yeah.
Well, if Rob agrees to be vice chair, and
sure, we'll
that would
get
mean
back
that
to
Rob
four.
would also be chair as you're away for the next few meetings. I think
Well,
I think
that's
that
what
would
one of my it's really my only reservation. I'm happy to do it. Heaven knows I've lost track of how many times, and I think this rotating chair has worked really well for us over the years. So
I think so too.
to let folks who may not know who are listening, this is our habit that we do this. It seems to be a good way to share the responsibilities. But I am going to be away a lot, so whoever is in the vice chair position um, will
Well,
have it'll be a co-chair-ish sort of situation for the summer, I'm afraid.
well, if we had a real rookie as our new planning board member, I would be hesitant to have the real rookie as the vice chair. But seeing as how we've got Rob here with great experience and not only on the planning board but other boards in town, I don't see a problem with him helping out as co-chair. But that's just my feeling. Brian?
I think that's a fine choice.
We haven't quite nominated him yet, but it seems like we're circling around that. I would only ask Rob to address whether or not he's going to also be continuing as the finance committee chair, because that is a
Oh,
pretty
I can't. I can't. I had to leave the finance committee. It's the on the
altogether.
fine. Yeah,
Or just-
because
oh,
no, because so I'm off the finance committee. If you're on the
okay.
finance committee, you can't be on anything other than investment committee, capital improvements committee, as I recall. So,
Oh,
so
okay,
I'm
fine. I
off the
didn't.
finance committee.
That is
Okay.
too bad. I really wanted a raise.
Oh yeah, well, I wasn't the one to speak to about that, but
By the way, Rob, I happened to speak to somebody in town, also on the finance committee, and that person told me that they're going to feel pretty lost without you. That you were doing the heavy lifting over there.
yeah, I appreciate Dennis's sentiments.
I
did
didn't say
feel.
who it was,
I
Rob.
know you didn't, but I did. But yeah, no, it was. I mean, I, I think you all know why I did it. So but it's not
I don't,
my
and
preference.
I don't, and I don't need to.
No, I don't
Right,
want
you
to.
know.
I don't want to know.
But
Okay.
in the movies that I've seen, there's this time spinner thing where we could actually have two Rob Phillips in town.
Yeah, right, right.
I don't know if
So
you might,
anyways, yeah.
yeah.
So back to Ann Bardine.
Yes. Oh dear.
Well, so
Are we
I'll
trying
make
to
the
do?
motion.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that Ann be our chair with Rob being the vice chair, with the understanding that as Ann is away, Rob will, of course, as vice chair, step in and be chair for those meetings.
Of course. Are we going to also nominate the one other position and vote the slate? Is that our practice here?
Well, we can do that. Yeah.
We're kind of
And the
marching
clerk
down.
generally goes to the chair that steps down, right?
Outgoing chair,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll make the motion. Ann is chair, Rob is vice chair, and me, whatever, as clerk.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor? Ray Cook, aye.
And Bardine, aye.
Deb Hamilton, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Rob Phillips, aye.
That's unanimous.
Wonderful.
All right,
Congratulations to the
Ann,
new
would you
slate.
like to finish the meeting?
Would I? Sure,
Yeah.
I'd love to. All right, so there are other responsibilities besides these statutory roles to be filled. The short-term one is the MBTA working group that Rob's already doing. The other two are CPC and Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, or planning, whatever it's called, MVPC, which has been filled by Brian for many years. You're interested in continuing with that?
I'll trek on again. Yes.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Do that.
And
And
Deb,
I,
how do you feel about doing the CPC?
Yeah, that would be good. I've been doing that, so I'd love to hand that off, which we also have done every year.
I guess I can tackle one more committee. I am on the AFT as well, the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah,
And I'm
but
planning board representative there. But I could start going to CPC meetings and be our rep.
great. All right, do these need votes, do we think?
You should vote to
Okay.
nominate and then
Okay.
vote to.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
vote,
Who?
I'll make the motion that Brian continue on with the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission and that Deb Hamilton be our representative to the CPC.
Second. Any
You're the
further
chair, Ann,
discussion?
you gotta call the
Sorry,
vote.
any further discussion? Got to get the gears moving here. Hearing none, I'll vote. Ann Bardine, aye.
And let's see, alphabetical order. Ray Cook, aye.
Deb Hamilton, I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Rob Phillips, aye.
Right, unanimous on all counts. That's resolved. I'll just let you know, Deb, that there is no CPC meeting for June.
Okay.
We've been meeting the second Wednesday, but who knows when it's reorganized, it may change. Wendy may have other ideas or other members may have other ideas, but that's what we've been doing. All right, next item on the agenda is the minutes of March 4th. And I am not a screen sharer, so rely on Katrina. If you
I
would,
can do
please.
It's a race.
Erase.
Yeah, she beat me.
that.
All right.
Is that large enough?
Yes.
Fine. Boy, it doesn't look like too many. No, Rob wasn't there. Brian wasn't there. And Deb wasn't there. Ray,
Oh, wow.
you and I are going to vote on this.
Okay,
Remember, especially if you don't have a quorum to vote on these, everyone can vote on it, even if they were not at the meeting.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm just noting though. All right.
My name isn't in there at all. No, I guess I must have been absent.
We don't
I'll-
put some people in the minutes, or yeah, typically.
I will say for the June 14th meeting, I've been working with Jen to catch up on the minutes. We're way behind.
We
I
are
only
way
have to
behind.
be a couple meetings behind, and so we've both been furiously doing lots and lots of minutes. And so that the next meeting, you're going to have at least 4 or 5 sets of them to
Oh,
be
good
reviewing.
Lord. Oh, boy.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good though, because I was getting concerned. I know members of the public and others rely on them being
Well,
available.
I also
And I
rely
do.
on them too.
Yeah,
So
I do too. Look at them. Okay, I did read this before. I didn't note anything. Do we want to go through it?
and I have not noted anything either.
Okay,
They're relatively short minutes.
yeah. Have other members read these ahead of time and have any comments?
None.
All right, hearing none, motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th meeting as presented here tonight.
Second,
All those in favor? Ann Bardine, aye.
Ray Cook, aye.
I was
Brian
not
Murphy,
in
aye.
attendance. I don't know that I can vote.
yes,
No.
you can vote.
Yes,
Katrina
you
said
can.
you can.
Katrina's made that clear a
Said
couple
you
of
can.
times.
Yep.
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Great, thank you. I think administrative details we've kind of been doing as we went along, kind of assign, anything else that you want to bring up before you're away, Katrina?
There was one notice from Haverhill, a public hearing for their floodplain.
Must be interesting.
And some other zoning amendments to the residential zone, rooftop solar energy systems, a street acceptance or 2 street acceptances, and a frontage waiver for 94 Portland Street. And that is the only correspondence.
All right. Great. Anything else that you know of? Doesn't sound like it.
No, I will just update on the 29 Pleasant Street. And so remember at the last meeting, you asked me to ask Meridian to give us a new estimate. Just look at the porous pavers that they're adding to both sides of the driveway. keep it simple because they had estimated $5,000 for their review, a complete review. He finally sent back a reduced estimate of 2,000. Still, it was a little high for just looking at the cross section of porous pavers and seeing if that matches with best practices. So he reduced it further. And so now it's around 1,100. The applicant said that, okay, that's fine, and they're getting us a check. I already have the signed contract with Meridian ready to go in case they did accept it, and they did. And so Jen is going to send that in so that hopefully they can review it, send us the review. We'll send it over to the applicant, and they can have a response in time for the next meeting.
Well,
that's great.
I'll just want to note that Katrina, as our town planner, has been interested in helping out the residents by reducing unnecessary expenditures, and I think that's appreciated
Yes,
by everybody.
I'm sure it is.
I
And
do
I'll-
think that Meridian is charging a little too much too. And so,
You
Well,
know,
I think
we-
you did. I think you did a great job helping out the neighbors, like Ray says, but also entering into it and getting some stuff done quickly. So I'm appreciative of that.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
great.
me too. And then maybe something for future discussion and would be how we go about doling out work. We used to have a few different engineers that we would
did,
parse
but-
work out to.
But didn't we seek other bids or something when you were
Yeah,
first?
if I recall,
Katrina,
nobody.
we didn't get a lot of response.
We did, but I would like to revisit that. And so maybe we could revisit that before the contract we signed is up, because you can sign a contract with someone, but you can use as many engineers as you want,
Right,
really.
you have multiple contracts.
It's
That's right.
basically just screening engineers to see who you want to use.
Right.
Yeah, okay. It's tricky because as in so many fields, I think a lot of the engineering firms have merged. So there are fewer
Yep.
individual ones and we're
Yep.
the bottom of the pecking order being such a small town. So we
Yeah.
kind of need to, really look around, but that'll be a good future project.
I
Okay.
do recall though, typically back when Camet was our go-to for everything, that engineers who do work for the town cannot work in the town. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
No,
What was
I
the
don't-
question? If
think
they,
so.
That if there are choice,
No,
that-
because they're not
No.
a town engineer. They're individually contracted on a
Yeah,
project. right?
yeah. Camet did work in town as well as work for the town.
okay.
Yeah, I think as long as
But
they're
you
not.
know, a job like this, I remember there was sort of a one-man operation. I forget the guy's name.
We had a man in Ipswich who was a one-man.
Right.
Right.
This
Right.
would have been perfect. This would have been perfect for that. you know?
Larry
Yes, I think
Hammond, Hammond? Is it Larry?
I don't remember. I can picture the guy, but anyway,
Yeah.
again, Katrina, maybe one of the sources for that is either the listserv or just, inquiring of other towns, or you, from your own experience, you may
Okay,
have.
I've got a list of them, and so that I think I may reach out just so that we can have some others. I'm not impressed with the response time too from Meridian. It
Yeah.
took almost a full 2 weeks for him to email me back, and so I would want someone a little hungrier for the job.
Mhm.
Right, and I think that's where we get to the small town, small firm fit that may be a little bit more useful.
You know, I'm a
Right.
retired professor. I still
There
have my
you-
license.
There you go. There you go.
There
Cool.
you go. There you go. No, we have a better job for you. All right. So looks like we're now on placing items for future agendas. So the 17th, we have 29 Pleasant. If we don't get all that Meridian stuff resolved, we may have to continue that again, I guess, TBD, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right now it's for June 17th.
That's what I
But
meant, June 17th.
Yeah, I doubt very much that we're gonna have everything, but we'll see.
And the other thing we thought we would look at that night is the reduced frontage bylaw, just to kind of, no, you're gonna
No.
move them in July,
Yeah, we're moving
right?
that to July.
Okay. So then the other thing will be the many, many minutes will be for
And we're gonna have some
we'll have-
MBTA stuff to.
And MBTA feedback, yeah, I'll be interested to.
And also, I believe someone from West Newbury Wild and Native will be coming in. Isn't that correct?
Yes, on the
Yes,
17th,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, great.
that'll
And
be
we
fun.
yeah, and maybe we'll have received the Stonewall information by then too. So this is good that we have all these other projects that are kind of advancing
Mhm.
every meeting or every other meeting. That's
Yeah.
a good way to get things done. And then,
Another,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say another thing to be thankful to Katrina for. Is kind of looking
Moving
out
right
to the future and
The advancing of the ball, yes.
yeah, not
Grinding
letting us
out
forget
those
stuff.
yards.
So
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, Anne, your
I won't be
next
there.
week, I would usually be sending you the agenda for feedback. I guess Jen could. She'll send it to
I
you.
won't be here and you won't be here. So
Oh, next week?
maybe Jen, I'm leaving Saturday. I'll be gone until the 19th.
Okay, that's good to know. Then she will just post it.
Right. Unless she
Well,
wants
she
to.
no,
could-
no, no.
to
She
Rob.
can
No.
send- she can send it to Rob.
No.
She
Yeah.
should send it to everybody.
Yeah, we usually
Oh,
all
send it
comment
to
on the
everyone?
agenda. Yeah, we
We
usually
all
all comment on
comment.
the agenda.
We
Yes.
there
She
may be
always-
something that comes up that should be put on the agenda.
She's generally in the habit of sending a draft agenda to all of us, I think. Like,
Well, Katrina's been
No,
sending
usually
it
I just
for
send a
me.
draft agenda to the chairperson. We solidify the agenda and then you get the agenda and staff report.
No.
after it's been
I had been
posted.
seeing a draft for quite a while. I
Yes,
think you were sending it to everyone. So
I
let's,
would prefer to see a draft.
could we
Okay.
continue that practice just because of these
Okay.
attendance issues and because
Yes,
Sure.
more input is better than less?
yes.
Okay, that'll be great. Then for July 15th, then we have Zero Middle Street, reduced frontage. What was the other one? I just
MBTA again.
MBTA, but the other thing that Katrina.
29 Pleasant Street, probably.
Possibly 29 Pleasant. Yeah, that's going to be a long night, but I guess with one meeting that month.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I think we have to cross our fingers that no A&Rs come into the office. We're going to have to call it extra July meeting if that happens to
Oh.
beat the 14 days, right?
You know what, usually you can get the applicant to give you an extension of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that all sounds good. Great. So Katrina, your dates away are literally tomorrow, whatever that is, the 4th, until when are you coming?
I'll be back on the 16th,
You're in the office on the 16th or on the 17th?
in the office on the
On the
16th.
16th. Okay.
And then when are you unavailable again?
I don't, actually for my other daughter's wedding, I don't have to take that much time off because it's local.
No,
Oh.
don't tell us that because you need to take the time that you need to take.
Yeah,
And when are you unavailable?
I think I'm 13th. I think I'm taking off July 14th. It's a Monday.
That's the day before our meeting, but that's okay if we're
Yes.
ready the week before. Just the one day? Okay.
Yeah, because remember, I don't work Thursdays and Fridays.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right.
We'll want
items-
pictures.
I will show you pictures.
Maybe not at the meeting, but definitely
Right.
Yeah.
on all our own time. Items not anticipated. Anyone have anything? No?
And
Okay.
Ray, I have to say my guests have still not arrived.
Oh
Oh,
dear.
boy.
Hope they're not lost in the wilds of Rowley.
No, that we're all leaving at getting up at 3:30 to go to the airport tomorrow. And so
Oh my
they
God.
decided to sleep over tonight.
Ugh,
Oh yikes, I hope they get there soon.
wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I would just like to extend a sincere thank you to Ray Cook
Oh,
for an incredible effort over the last year, truly above and beyond.
Yep.
I'm just following your footsteps, Brian. Honest to
Ray,
God,
No, this was the
it has
time.
been,
no.
it has been,
Every chair that every time we've had it, everybody's been so great.
It's
So,
true.
Well,
and I know the rest of the board members appreciate it, and I know many people in town appreciate what you did for us.
we do
Thank you.
very
well,
much.
I
And that
appreciate,
seems a simple thing to say, but
thank
it's-
you. But I, honest to God, it's not false modesty here. It's been a team effort.
Great. Thanks so much, Ray.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for your leadership. It's a team, but you were the one out in front, so.
You
Great.
were running point man. Point man. That's
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, I'm actually, as you know, I had disagreements with the select board on a number of items, but I think this approach can work, and I'm glad that they've got 20 parcels to look at from the town or something like that, and
Letters, yeah.
yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how it goes, and this could end up being fantastic. So that's my hope, and that it's not controversial, and that it's not no sweat for Ann and Rob as chair and vice chair.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think things could go really well, and yeah.
well,
I'm optimistic.
a good dose of optimism is always welcome.
Right.
Yes, yes. We're all
Yeah.
learning in town about this together, so that's all good stuff. All right, well, happy trails and wedding to Katrina.
Happy
and
wedding to Katrina.
Yes,
All
Yeah,
the best.
congratulations, Mama.
I'm sure
Move
it's
to
gonna be
adjourn.
fantastic.
Yeah, and
Thank you very much.
all right, well, motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
All right, all in favor?
I, it's
Aye,
unanimous to
forever.
me.
It is unanimous. All right, we'll see you soon.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Adam, Kathy, and Margaret, for joining us.
See ya. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Ray. Bye-bye. Thanks, Katrina.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.